case what?
We get Deshaun.
Oh, really? Oh, I see. Yeah, I got you. I don't know if I'll let y'all talk to him or not.
Fire away, guys.
Anyways.
How can you get better in the run game, Chad?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that we've got to. Obviously, coming into this year, that was a huge emphasis for us, and obviously didn't run the ball as effective. Now, a lot of some of our speed motion game, we flip it. It gets caught in the passing category or for yards, and so that's a little bit skewed. But we still didn't do that many of those. We didn't get that many yards at them. It would have made a big difference. I think the way they were playing us the other night, obviously watching film and going back and looking at it, they definitely lined up to try to stop the run and try to put pressure on Deshaun. I think that was their game plan coming in, and not get beat with a run. So I think they did a few things that really kind of offset it and might have made things look a little bit more cloudy than what they were, but still we weren't nearly as effective as we needed to be in the run game. We got to continue to get better. Obviously getting a little bit more physical play out of our tight ends. I think that we're not playing nearly as physical as what we need to play. J.J. McCullough has been the most physical of all the tight ends, and he didn't have his best ball game. I mean, he didn't play that bad, but he didn't play it on part of where he was the first 3 weeks. So we've got to get him back and get him going again, and he will. So we got to start with that, and then obviously our offensive line. I mean, we got to be able to knock some people off the ball a little bit and create some movement. And our backs are going to have to find the holes, and there was a little bit more there at times, and we didn't find it. But they give them credit. They did line up to stop the run first. They were definitely trying to insert the drop down safety, whether it be the free safety or the strong safety, in the box, and I think we saw that on the second play of the game, how fast they were going to try to trigger to stop the run. And so, and that's what you do. You try to take away. They're going to try to take away something that they feel like we're going to have to hang our hat on to win, and we got to try to get to the complement of it. And I thought we did that in the passing game. But we have to run the football more. We got to be more effective in running the football, but we got to be smart with it as well. If they're going to line up and stack the box, then we've got to take advantage of that too. And I felt like that we did that a little bit Saturday night.
What's your comfort level with Deshaun Watson and zone read? For some reason, I thought maybe you'd see more of that with him.
Well, actually, saw a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah. You saw a lot of it. I don't know what you saw a lot of it. We ran a lot of it.
What's your comfort level with him?
I don't want to run him every play, and that was by design. But we did run a lot of zone read. Some of it was gives. Some of it we mixed it up out on the edge on what we were doing with our wide receivers. We did some other things that felt like that we were going to break some tendencies, and they did. Things that we thought they would be keying on, they were. And it allowed us to break some tendencies on it. Now, the way they were playing their coverage behind it and trying to take some of the stuff away from him. And so, but again, on the zone read, I thought the week before at Florida State, Deshaun was predetermined in most of his reads, and he was pulling every one of them. So that's why it looked like we ran a whole lot of zone read against Florida State. A lot of it was he was predetermining, and there were several of those he made some bad reads on. He should have gave, and he pulled. So we really worked on it this past week of really reading it and riding with your back. Great mesh, what we call our CQ, with our exchange, and he did that. He had a few gives, and again, it just didn't roll out like we wanted to as far as getting out of the box with it, with that running back. But we ran a lot of it. I feel very comfortable running the zone read with him. I think he's very comfortable with it. I think you just got to be smart with it and understand that our backs have got to get involved in this thing, and so that's what we've got to do. And we got to be able to create some movement up front to get those backs involved. I mean, that's all about space. You start talking zone read, you talk about spreading people out and trying to eliminate as many guys in the box as you possibly can, and let your quarterback account for the extra defender. So, but we did run a lot of it.
Taj wasn't.
Say that again?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Taj wasn't much of a zone read threat. It was more power.
Right.
Given that there's more I guess, more of a lethal part of that now with the zone read with Deshaun, and teams are going to have to account for it. Can y'all be more lethal in the vertical passing game now than y'all have in the past?
Well, yeah, that's a great
years?
question. You know, I think the thing is when you start looking at that, I was talking to Roy here just a second ago, was the you know, you're exactly right. Taj was more of a downhill player from a quarterback run standpoint. While Deshaun is as well, he's a little bit more elusive in the box. What didn't work in Taj's favor was getting him in space. What works in Deshaun's favor is to get him in space. And so by doing that, you try to create space as much as you can. And by formations, by alignments. And so, yeah, I think that the more that we go in this thing, I think without a doubt that you know, his comfort level running the zone read and being able to create space for him is what you try to do. And with that being said, you know, then they've got to make a decision because, you know, he's a rare combination. I mean, you usually got some guys that are really good zone read runners and not very effective in the passing game, so therefore you can stack the box and play games with you up front and how that you're gonna make is he gonna give it a, you know, who's his read key? Is it gonna be a give? If it is a give, then who's gonna account for the quarterback? And because it's essentially a triple option, it's just a different way to run it. And or you got guys that aren't very good zone read runners, and you still try to run some zone read to keep people honest, but he's really effective passing the ball. Those guys, you don't have to be nearly as complex up front from a defensive standpoint because, you know, you're not going to run as much during the course of the game. Deshaun's kind of a rare combination because the worst thing you want to do with Deshaun is get him on the run because he does a great job keeping his eyes down the field. And I think we've seen that now over the last few weeks with him. And so, so yes, I think that's what he likes. That's what he does. We've got to try to create space for him. And what you're going to find is people are going to try to force him to give the ball every time. And by doing that, then they've got to account for who's the extra hat that's coming down, who's the extra defender that's coming into the box, and then you got to take advantage of the passing game. So yeah, it's a constant chess match, especially when you've got a guy that's got the skill set of Deshaun.
Was Roderick more skilled or more productive than the guys right now at the running back position?
Well, I think he was, you know, I would say he was a little bit more elusive than what we have right now. I think, well, than the other night. I think, you know, I think the other night, obviously, we you know, Adam Choice was, I think he got banged up early in the game and on a kickoff. It's nothing that really, you know, set him out the entire game. But again, you know, we've got to be able to create some things in there. I thought Wayne Gallman early on, it was, you know, he dropped one of the flips early on and missed the protection early on and just didn't seem like he was into it. You deal with that when you deal with freshmen at times. And you know, talking to Coach Elliott, we try to play the guy that we had the comfort level that would help in protection when we found out what they were trying to do.